The city never really slept. Even in the small hours of the night, something was always humming, a streetlight flickering, a siren echoing, a life unraveling, quietly behind closed doors. It was on one such night that the rain began to fall, tapping against the glass of a small apartment window on the east side. Inside, a candle burned low, its flame trembling like the heart of the girl sitting before it. Her name was Elena Hayes, and she was writing a letter she'd never finish. Outside, the streets glistened, blurred by the endless rain. Inside, her reflection in the window looked like a stranger. She whispered to it, almost softly, as if confessing to someone who might still forgive her. "I thought love could save me." The pen slipped from her hand. The candlelight flickered once, then went out. Weeks earlier, before her world had folded into darkness, Elena's days had been simple, almost painfully ordinary. She worked at a small design studio downtown, creating posters and advertisements that never bore her name. She walked the same route to work each morning, coffee in hand, earphones tucked in, lost in her own quiet orbit. She had no idea that a single glance was waiting to rewrite everything. It happened on Thursday. She'd gone to her favorite art gallery after work, a place she visited when life felt too mechanical. The kind of place where silence wasn't empty, it was sacred. That evening, the gallery was quiet except for the sound of distant rain. She stood in front of a painting, an ocean at war with itself, waves crashing under a bruised sky. That's when she noticed him. He stood a few feet away, tall, still, wearing a black coat that seemed to drink in the dim light. His eyes weren't on the painting, they were on her reflection in the glass frame. When she turned, he didn't look away. For a moment, it felt as if time had leaned in to listen. There was something magnetic about him, calm, yet unsettling. Later, she would try to remember what he said first, but all she could recall was the sound of his voice, low and steady, like a secret meant only for her. He spoke about the sea, how it hides more than it reveals, and she found herself answering as if she had known him forever. That night, when she left the gallery, she caught her reflection again in the rain-slick window and noticed something had changed. Her eyes held a new light. In the days that followed, she saw him again. At first, it felt accidental, at the cafe near her office, at the bookstore on the corner, even in the park where she sometimes ate lunch. But accidents rarely repeat themselves. By the third meeting, she stopped pretending it was coincidence. His name was Adrian Cole. He said he worked in finance, though he never said much more. What he did say was always carefully chosen, the way a magician chooses what you're allowed to see. He listened differently than others. When she spoke, he seemed to study her, not just her words, but the pauses between them. And when he smiled, it was as if the rest of the world dissolved. She began to feel known, understood, seen in ways she didn't know she needed. He told her she was rare. He said people like her were born with too much heart, and that kind of heart was both a gift and a curse. At first, she laughed at that. Later, she'd realize he was right. The weeks became months, and soon his voice filled every corner of her world. He called her every night, texted every morning. He remembered things no one else did, the name of her childhood dog, the smell of her mother's perfume. He said he loved that she felt everything so deeply. But love has a strange way of changing shape when no one's watching. It began subtly. He wanted to know where she was, who she met, what she did after work. He said it was only because he worried about her. When she didn't reply fast enough, he'd send another message, then another. Sometimes he'd apologize afterwards, saying he was just scared of losing her. She mistook control for care. Her friends noticed before she did. Maya, her best friend, tried to talk to her one evening over dinner. "You've changed," she said. "You're not you anymore. You don't come out. You don't laugh the same way." Elena smiled, stirring her coffee. "You just don't understand him. He's been through a lot." But the truth was, she didn't understand him either. Some nights he disappeared without explanation. His calls would go unanswered, his messages unread. Then, hours later, he'd return with a quiet apology and a story that didn't quite fit. She wanted to ask where he went, but fear kept her silent. Fear of pushing him away, fear of finding out the truth. One night, she found a small gold earring in the passenger seat of his car. When she held it up, he barely flinched. He said it belonged to a colleague, that she must have dropped it by accident. She nodded, but inside, something cracked. After that, she started watching more closely. She checked his online profiles late at night, looking for traces of the other woman she refused to believe existed. She memorized his habits, his routes, his words. She began writing about him in her journal, short, desperate fragments that read like prayers. "He says I'm his world, so why does it feel like I'm vanishing?" Her art began to change too. Once filled with soft pastels and sunlight, her canvases grew darker, storms of red and black, shadows of faces half erased. Her colleagues asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, but she wasn't fine. She was disappearing. Adrian's love had become the air she breathed, and now she was suffocating on it. One Friday night, she followed him. He said he was going to a business dinner, but something in his tone felt rehearsed. She took a taxi, keeping her distance, her pulse thudding in her throat. He drove across the city to a quiet neighborhood she didn't recognize, parked outside a house with a white fence. When the door opened, a woman appeared, young, with a child in her arms. Adrian kissed her gently before stepping inside. The world tilted. She sat there in the car, frozen, watching the lights of the house blink on. It was almost beautiful, the way betrayal looked under warm light. She took a photo, not because she wanted to hurt him, but because she needed proof that it wasn't all in her head. That night, when she confronted him, the mask slipped. He didn't deny it. He simply said she was overreacting, that the woman meant nothing. "You're the one I really care about," he said. "But you need to understand I can't leave her yet." She asked him when he would. He said soon. But soon became a word that tasted like poison. After that, the calls became fewer, the silences longer. He stopped visiting her apartment. His excuses were thinner each time. And yet she waited. Every night she sat by her phone, willing it to light up. Her friends stopped calling. Her work suffered. She started forgetting to eat. Her world had narrowed to a single point: him. Then one day, his number stopped working. His apartment was empty. His office said he'd resigned. It was as if he'd vanished into thin air, leaving behind only echoes of his voice in her mind. She searched for him everywhere: his favorite cafe, the gallery, the park. Every stranger's face became his for a second before dissolving back into disappointment. Nights turned to weeks. Sleep left her entirely. She began hearing him even when she knew he wasn't there. Sometimes she thought she saw him standing across the street, half hidden by fog or rain, watching her. When she blinked, he'd be gone. Her journal became her only companion. The entries grew frantic. Maybe he's testing me. Maybe he'll come back when I prove I can wait. I can't tell where I end and he begins. And then came the last line she ever wrote. If he's gone, then who am I now? The next morning, her neighbor heard music playing from her apartment. Soft, haunting, looping endlessly. The window was open, the curtains fluttering. The coffee on the table was still warm. The candle burned out hours ago. No one saw her leave. The police searched, but there were no answers, no trace. Only the letter that began with a confession and ended mid-sentence. Months later, Maya received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photo, a storm painting from the same gallery where it all began. On the back, in Elena's handwriting, were 3 words: "The ocean remembers." 2 years passed. In another city, another gallery, a woman with short hair stood before a similar painting. Her eyes were older now, guarded. When someone asked if she liked it, she said quietly, "Some people drown because they never learn to let go." Then she smiled faintly and walked away, leaving behind a scent of rain and something unspoken. Maya still keeps the letter framed above her desk. Sometimes, late at night, she gets blank emails from an unknown address. No message, no name. Only the subject line repeating the same phrase every time. The ocean keeps secrets. And somewhere, between memory and myth, the story of the girl who loved too deep still drifts. A warning, a whisper, a ghost carried on the rain.